Continental Challenge. We have two pro players batting it out. We have Jan Moyen versus Brian Courtade, also known as the Rat, who won a Disney Lorcana Challenge. I'm joined by Queen Mia Bo, or is it Queen Mia Bobo, or Queen Mia Bobo?
Yeah, I think it's Queen Boo, but I guess it's difficult to pronounce.
It's not too bad.
So
I should have remembered.
you
But
can just call me Queen.
it's lovely to have you here. We can take a look at our players. We've got Moyen here, who has some pretty good results. It doesn't mention that he lost in the final of the Cuzco Cup to Spessy, but I'm just saying. Obviously a good friend of mine. And on the other side, we've got Brian the Rat Courtade, who won Disney Lorcana Challenge Chicago, playing a Emerald Steel deck. But today we have a mirror, although the decks are a little bit different from each other. We have the Brian Courtade playing the Oswald version, very similar to the one that we've seen Zan Syed playing, with 4 Oswalds, also 3 copies of Scrooge McDuck. And the biggest difference in the decks here is this Oswald. It can be a very, very high rolly card. However, in a mirror matchup, it's going to be really interesting to see if it carries its weight, because of course the Storm Rage on and the Strength could remove it. Moyen's list is very similar. Does also have some items, doesn't play the Maurice's Workshop, so isn't quite as heavily invested in the items. Instead, has a Cogsworth, which could be really impactful in the mirror, giving resist 1 to all of their characters. Have you got a prediction, Queen Mia Bobo, who's going to win this one? What do you think?
Well, actually, most people think that Moyen will win this, and I think Moyen also thinks this because I actually watched a podcast with him, and he said that he's supposed to be like advantaged in this mirror because he doesn't run Oswalds, and he says that he can go faster without them, and also he has less chance of breaking because he has less uninkables. We actually have 6 uninkables for Moyen and 17 for the red.
Wow, that's a huge, huge difference, isn't it? It's a really good spot. So 6 uninkables versus 17. That's a very good bit of analysis. Yeah, 3 Zeus. Obviously, the workshops are also uninkable. But the idea for the Rat is like the Oswald just going to be cheating out some cards. Worth noting that Brian can play the Oswald and then ink immediately, potentially, and get value from the Oswald before it's able to be removed. So it's going to be fascinating. I think you can let the players know that we're ready to start, if you don't mind. And you can see the players are shuffling up. We also could do a little bit of a listening with our players at points in our stream here today. Oh, I've lost that. There we go. That's better. But yeah, I hope everyone's good. Big shout out, I want to say, to my channel sponsor, Card Market, who sponsor my stream. As usual, if you're looking to pick up singles online in Europe, Card Market's the place to be. But let's jump on with the action. We've got Moyen to the left and Brian Courtade to the right, 2 very well-known players. I didn't catch who won the die roll. The player that mulligans first will be the player going first. I can see Moyen has 1 copy of Sail in hand, also has access to Bell. On the other side, Brian has a Fortisphere for turn 1, but no sign of that Bell.
Yeah. Do you think that Bell is one of the key card in this matchup because it permits you to start?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, in a Cinderella battle, right, if you're both playing Amber Steel, you would really like to be the player going first and playing Cinderella, because then you can remove your opponent's Cinderella with a Storm Rage on. But in this matchup, if your opponent also responds with Bell, you can't remove it with a Storm. So it's a very good question. I honestly don't know. It's my first time watching a Sapphire Steel mirror. It's going to be 4 cards altered by Mr. Moyen, keeping the Bell, keeping the Sail, and keeping the Scrooge. Doesn't find a item. So no Bell on turn 1. In fact, no turn 1 play available at all. Whereas there, Brian is keeping that Fortisphere and is maybe going to be looking for a Bell. So it was a little bit greedy for Moyen to keep the Scrooge. But obviously with the Sail on 2, the Scrooge could come through on 3.
Yeah, I think for Moyen it's very important to start early because he needs to get the board advantage because he cannot take too much time if he does, the rat is like most likely he will just outvalue him.
Yep.
Outvalue Moyen with his times and with his board full of items, and so he can set up a very very fast lethal with his big tomatoes, and big tomatoes are very difficult to remove for Moyen because he only has Zeus for this, and it's not enough.
Yep. So obviously it looks like Moyen will be going first because they were the player that mulliganed first. So this is going to be his hand. So not going to be able to play anything on turn one. And that's an interesting dynamic already as we see him ink the Smee. He kept the bell in hopes of obviously getting it down on the board. But unlike a Cinderella where you can just play bell, Moyen was also relying on hitting an item. So he ended up holding on to bell, but didn't end up being able to get it down. But look at that. The rat just in time draws his bell and does have that Fortisphere he kept in the mulligan. So we could see the rat, despite having a disadvantage as being the player going second, getting a bit of early board presence by inking Pete. Of course, the Fortisphere will surely come down. It's just going to draw the rat another card. But then will we see the Fortisphere be banished to play the bell for free? Because it is a bit of a decision. Bell could be used for ink. The question is how valuable is it? And isn't that fascinating? Bell not actually played at all by the rat for now.
At the moment, I actually see that Moyen doesn't have anything to remove Oswald if the red decides to play Oswald, and if he has two Oswalds in his hand, and if he manages to play them both quickly, and they're not removed, it could be the end for Moyen.
Yeah.
It depends also because Oswald is like, to some extent, it's a high roll card, so you need to draw the items.
Yeah, Oswald is definitely a risky card that, if it goes your way, can absolutely pay off in a huge manner. So it's going to be fascinating to see the impact. We see the Tamatoa into the Inkwell for Moyen. It is surely going to be this Sail the Azure at Sea. Oh, it's already been played. I apologize. But another card can be inked. Again, Moyen would have had a chance here if he drew an item to play the item still on this turn and play the bell for free. But it's really fascinating to see the rat not play that bell down early, not really valuing that 3 strength character down on the board for free. I'm sure against like other matchups, if he was playing against an aggro deck, the rat definitely would have got that bell down onto the board. But in a mirror matchup, perhaps just valuing that card extra in hand for now. And also the item on the board for Flaversham synergy and things like that. So it's a slow start for Moyen with just the Sail on 2. The rat does have that Fortisphere. Doesn't play Sail. I think he does have a few T-pos, but it looks like it might be that Oswald on turn 2, as you mentioned.
Yeah, probably, because there is no bell, and so that means that to remove Oswald, Moyen will have to hard cost the Storm that he actually doesn't have. So like maybe the rat considers this as a value play anyway, because there is no singer.
Yep.
At the moment, the situation doesn't look very good for Moyen, I would say, because he would like probably to play Smees or something like this, and he top decked. But yep.
Yeah, the Scrooge McDuck comes through.
He doesn't remove the Oswald.
Yeah, so could have hard cost the Storm, but instead wants to develop the Scrooge. It doesn't actually hit an item, so it looks at the top 4 cards of the deck. If an item is found, you may add it into your hand. But Moyen not wanting to spend his whole turn on removing the Oswald, and is potentially setting up the opportunity to sing Storm Rage on. This is a big moment. It's the first time we're seeing Oswald pretty much ever in this Lorcana, but we could even see the double Oswald, because the rat has the option of playing a second Oswald here, inking a card from hand, and getting 2 Oswald triggers. Alternatively, the rat could just take a normal ink on something like Hiram, get the Oswald value, and then play the Fishbone Quill, inking a second time. Let's see. So it's going to be the Hiram. Now, the top card of the deck is revealed, and if it's an item, which it is not, If it was an item, it would come into play for free exerted, even if it was a lucky dime. Instead, the card goes to the bottom. And it is going to be the Fishbone Quill now that comes through. And the Fishbone Quill, when it comes through, is going to get rid of this one of the lucky dimes. You might think Oswald is just once per turn. Well, if you thought that, I think you're wrong. Because I think it's... Oh, it is! You can do it multiple times per turn. So Oswald hits the Fortisphere, draws him into a Fortisphere, and he plays that Fortisphere, and the rat is suddenly away to the races thanks to the power of Oswald.
Yeah, I think it's pretty dangerous not to remove Oswald. But yeah, I still can understand that Moyen didn't do this because it would have been a very, very slow play.
Yep.
Just to hard cost Storm.
And Moyen will now sing the Storm Rage on to remove the Oswald, but there's 3 Fortispheres down on the board now for the rat. The second Scrooge McDuck comes through, and this one does find a Fortisphere. It's going to go into the hand of Moyen, and the rest of the cards will go on the bottom of the deck in an order of his choice. So Brian, with 4 items on the board already, Moyen currently with 0. Of course, I think is still able to ink this turn and play down that Fortisphere if they so desire. The question is what to ink. There's a couple of Tamatoas, there's a Strength of a Raging Fire, or a Fortisphere. You would imagine he's not going to ink the Fortisphere because that could just come down this turn and replace itself. But perhaps he really values these other cards in hand, the Strength in particular for that little bit of removal. But it is going to be the Strength that is inked, and it will be the Fortisphere played, which will allow him to draw a card. Finds a third Tamatoa, and maybe at that point, might be wishing he held on to the Strength with the third Tamatoa drawn. Of course, a risky card to ink. But how many Tamatoas does one man need, Queen?
Yeah, I think I would have inked a Tamatoa because, maybe because I see the second Oswald, maybe because of something else. But yeah, like he already had 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess when you buy them €60 per piece, you don't want to ink them.
True. I'm actually surprised he's got his hands on some Tamatoas. We saw Moyen in the last one of these tournaments just playing proxy after proxy after proxy. So clearly he's had enough of people judging him for his proxying.
Probably yes, and also he's a Blue Steel player. Like he's famous for this deck, so maybe he wanted to have it absolutely, and maybe he has a tournament incoming. There is a tournament in Northampton this weekend that you are going to cast. So
yeah, I'm going to be there.
Maybe he's participating.
We're going to see Oswald come through again, and it's going to be Strength of a Raging Fire onto the bottom. No high roll from Oswald this time, but guess what? There's a second opportunity for Oswald. Is it going to be an item? It's going to be another song onto the bottom. That's the crazy thing about Oswald, as we see Hiram Flaversham, the toy maker, going to come through and banish an item and draw 2 cards. It's the fact that Oswald can work multiple times per turn. And obviously the synergy with the Fishbone Quill, which is an item, is there for all to see. But it is now back on over to Moyen. 0 lore for each player, which is not a lot of lore, but surely that won't stay for long. And we go back to that turn 1 play from the rat as well, deciding to not play the Bell and instead just play the long game and try and get that into the Inkwell. And Bell has now been placed into the ink at some point. It's going to be a Tamatoa, a $60 card or so into the Inkwell. And Cogsworth comes through, which is definitely a card which will be strong in a steel mirror. It's going to give resist 1 to all other characters, and it has wards. So these 2 Scrooge McDucks, 4 strength, but with 4 willpower and that resist 1, they almost have 5 willpower. It's going to be the Fortisphere being banished as well. And it's going to be giving bodyguard to one of the Scrooge McDucks. Now, you might be wondering why on earth has Moyen done that? Well, the following turn with his Tamatoas, he's going to be able to bring that Fortisphere back from the discard and put it onto the board. But it did actually cost him 1 ink to banish that Fortress Sphere there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you need to pay 1 ink to banish the Fortress Sphere.
Yeah, Popsicles you can banish for free, but you have to pay for the Fortress Sphere. We're going to see Hiram Flavisham, not for the first time in his life, banish an item to draw 2 cards. And the discrepancy of cards in hand right now, it's very much in favour of the rat, as we see him draw a Scrooge McDuck and a Bell. And the other part of the ability on the Scrooge, which we haven't seen yet, is that you can exert 4 of your items to play Scrooge McDuck for free. And I think particularly in Brian or the Rat's deck, with that many items, that's definitely something he's going to look to utilize. You're not going to necessarily want to exert a Fishbone Quill to do it, but if you're just exerting Porpsicles and Fortress Spheres, you feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I guess Moyen also got quite unlucky because he drew 0s me, I guess. And also, he didn't find any objects with his first Scrooge.
Yep.
So...
yeah, he did actually ink a Smee favouring the Sail, but obviously just didn't quite find a turn 1 play that he might have been looking for.
Yeah, probably he did. To be honest, I don't remember about Smee.
But so many cards in hand right now for the rat. There's a Bell, there's a Scrooge. I think there's a Maurice's Workshop, a Fishbone Quill, a Strength, another Maurice's Workshop. Meanwhile, on Moyen's side, it's 2 Tamatoas, and I think it's a copy of Lucky Dime as well. I'm not sure what that card in the middle is, but I think it might be a dime.
But isn't it Maurice's Workshop in the middle?
Don't think he's actually playing Maurice's Workshop.
Dime.
Yeah.
I see 1 dime, but the other cards, I don't think there are any more dimes in the rest hand. I think we see a dime, a Maurice, 2 Maurice Workshops, a beat, and then some other blue cards.
Yes.
And also, is it an Oswald? But I don't think there is a Lucky Dime, another one.
We are going to see the Fishbone Quill activated, and of course, whenever a card goes into the Inkwell, Oswald's going to trigger, and it's the Oswald show. It's time again. Uh-oh. Oswald not behaving today, but surely it's only a matter of time. The good news is for the rat, even though Oswald hasn't popped off a ton, it did hit 1 item, and honestly, just that 1 Fortress Sphere that it hit meant that this Oswald replaced itself. It also is a 2-cost character which quests for 2. It's a very strong card. Even if it only hits something once, I think you're pretty happy. But the fact that it can just continue to spiral out of control is really dangerous.
Yeah, I think there is another thing that is quite powerful about this card, because you can use its effect immediately. And it's quite important in Lorcana.
There we go. Oswald comes through. It's the Shield of Arendelle, which I've got to be honest, I don't have a clue what that does. And we do see the Maurice's Workshop come through. The Shield of Arendelle is not in there because it's a good card. It's in there because it's a 1-cost item. So it increases your odds of Oswald hitting. It gives you more targets for Hiram. It gives you more synergy with the Maurice's Workshop. Oh my days, the rat is playing the long game. The Workshop is now in full force. So Maurice's Workshop is every time you play an item, you may pay 1 ink to draw a card. And 4 items exerted to play the Scrooge McDuck for free. And suddenly, Moyen's deck, which looks very fair, it doesn't play Oswald, isn't really hanging in there with the greed of the Oswald deck right now. Unbelievable. That's a lot of items.
Yeah. By the way, talking about the Shield of Arendelle, you can play it and you can give resist when you can banish it for free, and you give a chosen character resist until the start of your next turn. Don't know if it's very useful or not. Maybe against some great axe, to protect your Terminator probably. The 4 or 5 one.
Yeah, we do also see the belt come down for the rat, banishing a Fortress Sphere. That Hiram Flavisham is causing Moyen some problems. It'll be interesting to see if he does remove it. It's going to be a Flavisham of his own now drawn. Of course, does have those Tamatoas in hand, but the Scrooge McDucks with resist 1, thanks to the Cogsworth, could take out the Hiram and potentially stop the card draw. The problem is with double Maurice's Workshop for the Rat, every time he plays an item, he can pay 2 ink to draw 2 cards.
Yep, and I think there are no cards to remove the items in both decks, so it means that if you play a Lucky Dime, it stays, I guess. I don't think that anybody plays the Hideaway. Just quickly checking. I mean, you can just put your dimes and then you play Tamator and it's done. I mean, for the Rat.
And when we go back to that turn 1 decision from the Rat not to play the Bell, you can kind of see why. They wanted to set up their greedy early turn engines, ink as much as possible to get as much Oswald value, and then play the Bell at a later point. If they banished an item, which we see the Tamatoa come through from Moyen, it's going to cost 6 ink, and on play, it's going to bring back 2 items from his discard and add it to hand, and then whenever Tamatoa quests, you can play an item card from your hand for free. It will be the Hiram Flavisham taken out. But that turn 1 play by the Rat, not to play Bell, just kept that item on the board, used Bell for ink, and that just gave them an extra opportunity to trigger Oswald, and it's now left them in a really good position. Another item here for the Rat would be pretty extraordinary. Has the option of singing Storm Rage on with Bell and the Scrooge, but don't forget about the resist of Moyen's board, which is probably why he leaves that Cogsworth ready and waiting. Very fascinating battle, this one.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, in this case, it's just some kind of a card draw. It's not a removal. But I think the Rat does need some card draw because I think he wants to find some Tamators. At the moment, the hand is like not so impressive. You can't win fast with this hand, and Moyen is trying to lurk up the board.
Yep, I would imagine what we might see from the Rat is paying 3 ink for a Fishbone Quill, which is very expensive, but then for each of the Maurice's Workshop, you can pay 1 more ink and draw a card. So the Rat could pay 5 ink here for a Fishbone Quill that draws him 2 cards. It's not exactly ideal, but it does give him an opportunity to fix his hand. And suddenly, if he draws into a Hiram Flavisham, he's off to the races once more. Does, of course, have the option of hard casting the Storm, but it looks like it is going to be that Fishbone Quill. And then will we see him trigger the Maurice's Workshop? We see the first one trigger for 1 ink to draw a card. And we will also see, surely, the second one trigger as well. So 1 more ink paid to draw another card. So no more items, but does find another Oswald. And it could be time for the Oswald show once more.
I'm just trying to imagine what he wants to see. And also talking about the dimes, he has 3 dimes in his deck, and I guess he has already inked 1 of them with his Fishbone Quill, and the other one is in his hand. So that really reduces the chance to high roll a dime.
That's
with
very true. Double Oswald down on the board, but at this point, even if you just hit something like a Fortisphere, you're going to be happy. So the Fishbone Quill is going to get rid of that Storm Rage on, and suddenly it's 2 Oswalds triggering. So the top 2 cards revealed, Zeus to the bottom. Surely Oswald! Another Zeus to the bottom!
Oh my god, he's so unlucky. This is just like low rolling.
Oswald is not performing. I think you said it was about 17 items in the Rat's deck. That kind of ballpark.
No, it's not 17. It's 21.
Wow, 21 items. So that means that there's a 33% chance, roughly, of Oswald hitting an item every time. But surely it's now time for the Oswald show as Pete goes into the inkwell. There has to be some items somewhere. On to the bottom goes the Pete. But there we finally see the Oswald find a Fishbone Quill and play it for free. But look at this now. The workshops kick in because the item was played, so both workshops can be triggered. So the Rat pays 1 ink for each workshop, so paying 2 more ink to draw 2 more cards. And the Rat is really, really running away with the battle of the ink. 10 ink right now, whereas Moyen has just 7. Oswald is something else, mate. That is a very, very spicy card. Have you ever played Oswald before?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I just have one from my D23.
Yep.
And I guess I have another one. So yeah, I probably should have bought it, a playset of it, before it doubled the price.
It's gone up in price a lot, hasn't it? Yeah. And it does look
Yeah,
like
I think it used to cost €7. Now it's 20
wow.
plus.
It's going to be the Fishbone Quill activated again. And guess what that means? That means there is more chances for Oswald to shine. Mr. Moyen was saying, yeah, he likes the chances of just getting rid of these Oswalds with Storm Rage on, but there's 2 staring him down, and there's another Fishbone Quill. And the rat can, of course, he triggers the Oswald. Hiram goes on the board, but because of the abilities going into the bag, he can still now trigger the Maurice's workshops and will do so. So now, draw's actually an item. And look at that, a Scrooge McDuck is entered into the hand. So 4 items exerted, and Scrooge McDuck comes down for no cost at all. 4 cards, the rat looks at, an item can be added into the hand, and a popsicle will be added into his hand. That is absolutely unbelievable. Truly, truly impressive. And he does have to reveal that item to Moyen, I believe, as well, which hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure that will happen, because obviously if you hit an item, you need to reveal it. Yeah, there you go. Moyen can see that popsicle has entered the hand. Well, I think we talked about earlier, Queen, about this really being the battle of Oswald versus no Oswald. We theorized that maybe Moyen would be able to deal with the Oswalds quite easily, would let the Storm Rage on in strength. But 1 Oswald was removed, but 2 Oswalds have stood strong. And at the moment, the Oswald is winning the battle.
Yeah, and the more the game lasts, I think, the more chances the rat has to win the game. Because, he has everything. Like, it's a playground.
Yeah.
There are so many items and characters and ink and cards, and you have everything. You have, like, all possible resources that exist in the game.
Yeah, it's going to be 1 ink for Moyen spent on a Fortisphere, so 6 ink still remaining. No exerted characters here for the rat, so nothing there for Moyen to challenge. Of course, when this Tamatoa quests, let's not forget, they are going to be able to play an item for free from their hand. It's going to be Scrooge McDuck singing Let the Storm Rage On. See you later, Oswald. 1 Oswald has been dealt with, but there is still a Scrooge, 2 Scrooges, a Bell and an Oswald staring Moyen down. It's going to be Hiram Flaversham for Moyen for 4 ink, and the Popsicle will be banished, and 2 cards will be drawn. But look at that lucky dime in the hand, Queen. When Tamatoa quests, the lucky dime could come down for 0 cost. And while the rat looks to be in a completely dominant position, flexing with their Oswald, we've suddenly forgotten about the power of this Tamatoa that Moyen has developed. Moyen's not doing anything too flashy. He's just playing your normal game of Lorcana. The rat is really, really got the style points right now. But all that matters is the first to 20 lore. And Moyen at this point might just want to start trying to race.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's because the rat didn't get lucky with Oswald into Lucky Dime.
Yep.
So that would have completely changed the situation, because if you have 1 or 2 dimes on the board, you just need to find a Tamatoa and the game is over. But as you mentioned, I guess there is a way for Moyen just to play the dime, because as I've mentioned, the rat has nothing to remove the dime.
Yeah, and really fascinating here. We actually see Moyen ink the Flaversham, and then had 2 ink available, which I was thinking, he might want to spend that 2 ink on a lucky dime. But instead, at this point, Moyen not quite ready to race yet, and goes for the Sail the Azure at Sea for 2 ink. This is going to allow him to ink an extra time, getting a little bit of ramp. So we'll be inking that Fishbone Quill, and this is going to allow him to play the Fortisphere. So the Lucky Dime, while it might still come down onto the board this turn for Moyen, it's not going to be triggered this turn. Tamatora's going to quest, and that means the Lucky Dime can be played for no cost at all by Moyen. There's some pretty powerful cards in Sapphire this set.
Yeah, there are many pretty powerful cards in Sapphire. This set, it's the Sapphire meta. It's just, I have never seen this in Lorcana before, I think. Because even when Bucky was there, I think he was not that powerful. Sapphire is dominating the meta right now.
Yep, Sapphire is definitely doing very, very well, and it's really going to be interesting to see what other decks can do about it. One thing I will say, if you look at both of these decks, they do start off a little bit slow, but that's obviously where this Bell can come into it as well. So the Bell gives this deck, these greedy decks, some really good early game coverage to try and fight the board. But I do think that the Sapphire deck, Sapphire has always struggled against aggro and also struggles against discard at times. So I think aggro decks and some discard decks have a chance to really try and disrupt the Sapphire players in this meta. It's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. I have to say, after watching a Sapphire Steel mirror for the first time, I don't think I fancy playing Sapphire Steel this set. I think it looks a little bit too complicated for me. I just like playing Maleficent and turning sideways, because there's a lot of complicated decisions going on for these players here.
Personally, I've always loved Ruby Sapphire.
Yep.
But not Steel Sapphire. But now it's different. It's a different deck. I mean, there aren't any whole new words.
Yep.
Anymore. So I might give it a try, because I used to be horrible with Steel Sapphire. I don't know. Some people think that it was quite of the same deck, Ruby Sapphire and Steel Sapphire, but the gameplay is pretty much different. It was pretty much different.
Yep. We did see Moyen leaving his Cogsworth ready there, did not quest with it, really valuing that resist 1 ability for the Cogsworth. I mean, looked at the decks, it was really Oswald versus Cogsworth in many ways, being the big different options. But now the Rat is ready to go again with his 8 items on the board. He's going to pay 1 for a Popsicle, and he's going to draw a card. And now has the option, as we see the Lucky Dime now. Oh my goodness.
Oh, there is another dime. Yeah, that means that now there are no dimes with Oswald, and I think that he needs to hurry up, to be honest.
Yeah, we do
I think he needs to start playing these dimes.
We do see the workshop triggered once to draw Bell, and it looks like the other workshop will also be triggered, so 1 more ink to draw a card. Worth noting, of course, we only have this with hindsight, but if the Rat decided to just ink to start the turn, the Oswald would have played a dime for free. Now, he is not to have known that, but that is the case. That does not mean by any stretch, by the way, that it's a misplay, because it's just unknown information. It's just unlucky.
Yeah, because in general, you want to draw first, because you probably will you will probably want to ink something that you draw.
Yep.
So yeah, but yeah, in this case,
it's 9 items on the board for the Rat. That means if they can get a Tamatoa So Shiny on the board, it would quest for 10 right now. And I know you're French, obviously, and my favorite French card, apart from Big Ben, is Tamatoa Bling Bling, which is Tamatoa So Shiny in French.
Yeah, I have a feeling that you have some kind of passion for French.
They've got some good card names, that's for sure.
Bling Bling, yeah.
That Oswald's still on the board. Don't forget the resist 1 that Moyen has on every one of his characters. It's 5 law to 1 at the moment. The Rat currently at 11 ink, Moyen at just 9. It's another Popsicle. You can never have too many items, as we see another item enter the hand for the Rat. And are we going to see the Maurice's Workshop trigger? We certainly are. How many cards does one man need? Here's a concern. So far, the Rat this turn has now spent 6 ink drawing cards. He's only got 5 ink left, but I guess the thing is, he has 4 Fishbone Quills.
Yeah.
He has
4 Fishbone Quills. Yeah, I think he will ink everything and play probably a dime still.
He's probably looking for another Oswald. I think he might still have one Oswald in the deck. And we're about to see the Oswald show. Is it an item? It's a Tipo. Onto the bottom of the deck, the Tipo goes. But I have a feeling that's not the last Oswald trigger we're going to see in this game, as the Rat is the first person I have ever seen to have 4 Fishbone Quills down on the board. That is just outrageous.
I also want to mention that it's actually a little bit dangerous to draw with Oswald, because you can draw Tamatoas and they will go on bottom, and that's you don't want this.
Oh, there we go. We see the last cannon, a 1-cost item hit the board for the Rat. Not exactly the high roll you're looking for off Oswald, but every item counts when it comes to Tamatoa. So shiny, of course, but no sign of it just yet. Still 2 Fishbone Quill triggers available here for the Rat. But Moyen, suddenly, despite the absolute fireworks show that the Rat is demonstrating here, Moyen seems to be kind of comfortable right now.
Yeah. I'm just trying to check how many lore Moyen can get next turn.
Could be 1 ink for the Porpsicle. Is it the Tamatoa, perhaps, that the Rat is looking for? Finds a Zeus, which can be sung by the Scrooge McDucks. It usually, the Zeus would be able to deal with this Tamatoa, the new legendary from Arcasia's Island, but thanks to that Resist 1 from Cogsworth, it is safe and sound. Another item, says the Rat. You can never have too many items, apparently. Tamatoa is now in the hand, but it's not Tamatoa Bling Bling. I actually don't know what this one's called, the new Tamatoa.
Happy as a clam, I guess.
Happy as a clam, that's right, thank you. What's it called in French, do you know?
I actually don't know, because I don't know. I just see him happy as a clam all the time, but I will check for you.
We see the Tamatoa so shiny. Now enter the hand for Brian. The question is how much ink is available, as we do see them ink, and it's going to be Tamatoa happy as a clam put onto the bottom of the increasingly small deck of Brian's. That was the Tamatoa was inked from hand. It was just a bit of a mistake by the Rat to not reveal it, but that's been corrected. And it is now going to be time for the last 2 Fishbone Quills. And of course, every time a card enters the inkwell, Oswald's going to trigger, and Oswald just keeps putting good cards to the bottom. It's unbelievable. And it's going to be the Fishbone Quill, the 4th of the turn here for Brian, who is now at 15 ink. Unbelievable. He needs a bigger table, doesn't he? Bless him.
Yeah. By the way, in French, it's like completely different. It's peu enfant sécher ses larmes, but in English, it's something like can finally wipe his tears. I think it's because of the song.
Okay. Yeah, I think Tamatoa Bling Bling is the winner of that one. I think that's the better one there.
Do you have any other favorite French cards?
Big Ben, of course.
All right.
I actually have on my phone. I carry a Big Ben around with me. Look, it's Big Ben. You can't see it because of, but yeah.
I think I can see it. Yeah, but
I have a Big Ben. Why not?
That's pretty funny.
Very, very fascinating game. I think what Brian is doing here is they're considering... Oh, we got a little bit of a disconnect, but I'm sure we'll get back into the action very, very quickly. What Brian's looking to do maybe here is he is looking to see what is the amount of lore that his Tamatoa Bling Bling, Tamatoa So Shiny, might be able to quest for. So we are back in the game. And a lucky dime is now down on the board. I think the lucky dime was just played from hand there for 7 ink. Scrooge is going to sing Zeus. Again, thanks to that Cogsworth, it's not able to take out the Happy as a Clam. But does Brian notice that, or will he try it anyway? The Zeus is going to take down a Scrooge McDuck. Of course, a player of the Rat's quality, you would not expect him to make a mistake. But I'm sure he would have loved to have taken out that Tamatoa.
Yeah, definitely.
I've never seen so many items on the board at once. Unbelievable. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 items on the board. So Tamatoa So Shiny plus a Lucky Dime would get 15 lore out of nowhere. But let's not forget Tamatoa is also going to pull out an item from the discard. So it's probably more like 16 lore. And currently, the rat is only at 1 lore. So he's getting to 17 probably from the Tamatoa. But then obviously the Bell Conquest, the Scrooge, the Oswald. So Moyen here, while in their next turn, they're going to be wanting to apply their own pressure. They need to be really careful that the rat isn't just able to win out of nowhere. Thanks to the Dime and the Tamatoa. And Oswald, it looks like, will be questing. That puts the rat up to 3 lore, which might not sound like much, but of course, the threat of the Tamatoa Bling Bling in combination with the Lucky Dime is there for all to see, but not necessarily for Moyen because he doesn't know it's in the hand. But it is open deck lists, and I'm sure he can make the read that that is a possibility. Scrooge McDuck is now going to be exerting, you would imagine, to quest, as the resist from Cogsworth means that it's not going to be able to take out anything in a challenge. But Scrooge and Bell could both challenge a Scrooge to take one out. Bell's going to sing Strength of a Raging Fire, which will remove Bell. Bell on Bell action. And it is now finally the turn for Moyen. The rat is at 4 lore, but of course with that Tamatoa in hand...
6 on the board. Is it 6? Yeah, I guess it's 6 on the board, plus, yeah, he's at 9 ink. So, yeah, not enough items, even if he had a big Tamatoa.
Yep, imagine a Benja right now on that Lucky Dime. That could break some hearts. But honestly, the rat's got so much ink, it might not even matter. He's got 16 ink. And yeah, Moyen asking to see the discard, asking to just check the items. You can see there the rat has a few Fortispheres in the discard. So what Moyen might be trying to achieve here is he might just have to take out all of the rat's characters.
Benja wouldn't help because Tamatoa recovers the dime. It's not in the ink, so...
Yeah, and there's so much ink for the rat that,
yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah, you definitely need to ink the dime for it not to come back, because Tamatoa Bling Bling will just, make it come back.
Now, there's 14 items on the board right now for the rat. 14, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to do one last count. There's 5 at the bottom there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 items.
14, yeah. 14
you play the Tamatoa, and it's therefore being able to get 15 lore, but it can also pull back a Fortisphere. So even if Moyen removes all of the rat's characters here, the Tamatoa is going to be enough to win all on its own, thanks to the Lucky Dime. So Moyen needs to win this turn or answer this Lucky Dime, and I don't think he has the ability to answer the Lucky Dime. Don't think there's anything in his deck which does it.
No, I don't think that he has any answers in his deck. I think it's pretty much dead for him. I'm just thinking if he had another dime, he could have played it with the aid of Tamatoa, happy as a clam, but he doesn't have enough ink to play the big Tamatoa plus activating 2 Lucky Dimes. So I think that's the problem.
The Lucky Dime is going to target his Tamatoa So Shiny, gaining 3 lore, which isn't as impressive as what we might be seeing in a moment. And it is going to be a Scrooge McDuck taken out. I think Moyen at this point is just saying, well, if Brian has the So Shiny Tamatoa, I'm going to lose. But I can still win if he doesn't. But of course, we have the ability of being able to see each player's hand. And we know that Brian is ready and waiting for the biggest Tamatoa Bling Bling you ever did see. There it is! It's going to pull back a Fortisphere. The Fortisphere is not even going to need to be played because the Lucky Dime is going to trigger for 15 on the Tamatoa. The Bell and the Scrooge can quest. The Fortisphere is going to come in. He's looking for the biggest Tamatoa of all time. He's looking to show off a little bit. But Moyen's already scooped up. He doesn't want to know. It's game 1 to Brian. Thanks to the power of Oswald, Scrooge McDuck, and Tamatoa So Shiny. What a game, Queen Miyabobo. Unbelievable.
Just so many items. I remember that the championship in Bologna was won by a guy who played Ruby Sapphire, who played a Ruby Sapphire deck. But I think even he didn't have so many items on the board.
I have a feeling that while Oswald, you were saying, has gone up in price, I have a feeling that after this game on Card Market, who sponsor the stream, that Oswald might continue to go up even further in price, because that was unbelievable. I'm actually going to see how much is Oswald going for right now, because I am very curious. Let's have a look on Card Market.
22, my bad.
Oswald. Yeah, there is a D23 version. So yeah, big shout out to Card Market who sponsor the stream. It is like a €20 card right now, which is about $20. But surely he's only going up from here. That was very impressive. Very impressive. And let's just have a reminder as well of the players' achievements as well. We've got Moyen here, who has got top 32 at the European Championship, top 16 at Lorcana Challenge Bologna, 33rd in Seattle. He was the top seed of that event in Swiss, but lost his top 64 game, and 65th in Birmingham, just missing out. Good friend of the channel as well. And then we've got Brian Courtade, also known as the Rat, who is the winner of the Disney Lorcana Challenge Chicago. So two obviously very well-known players in the community. Moyen, part of the Podcana podcast, and a frequent guest on my channel now. Moyen did go first in game number 1, but it will be, because he lost, Moyen going first again in game number 1. If you're Moyen, what are you looking for in your opening hand, Queen Miyabobo?
I guess I wouldn't think me because I want to play them. And yeah, maybe even I want to play Bell just to start. It depends on if what I have to ink. I think I'm searching for everything that allows me to go faster.
Yep.
Because as we just saw, if the game lasts too long, the Rat is just the winner here. And talking about Oswald, he's actually like so amazing, because from what we saw, it was not his like best. It was not his prime. I mean, because the Rat didn't manage to pull off a lucky dime with any of his Oswalds. And if he did, the game would have ended like sooner, way sooner.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, Queen Miyabobo, if people want to find more of your Disney Lorcana content, what kind of content do you make? Where can people find you? So I'm sure there's many people watching wanting to follow you elsewhere.
Thank you. So I actually have an Instagram, and it's Lorcana Queen. So I guess you just type Lorcana Queen.
We'll get a link in the description. Chat, we need you to help us out. We're on a little bit of a delay here to make sure the competitive integrity of this event is being maintained. So in the chat, Lorcana Queen on Instagram. Let's get it in the chat. Let's go follow Queen Miyabobo. And while you're at it, follow me on Instagram as well, please. Worth for trying it.
I do.
You do. I follow you too. There you go. So here we go. It's going to be game number 2. Nice little shuffle for each player. Decks are going to be cut, and we're going to be going ahead with Moyen starting off. We didn't see him hit that turn 1 item in the previous game. That could make a big difference for Bell singing Storm Rage on our strength to deal with that pesky little Oswald. We do see Sail in the hand. We do see a 1-cost item, but it's the last cannon. Will Moyen decide to keep that or be a little bit more greedy? Looks like he's looking
I think
for the
you
storm.
Just got this. Yeah. You just got this because it's just an item that costs 1. I don't think that it's any useful in your opening hand, you're going to have a popsicle or a fortisphere.
Yep. Let's see what he's working with. That's a lot of Tamatoa bling blings. I think there's a happy as a clam in there too. That doesn't look like a very good hand for the young man from Germany.
There is also a lucky dime, I think, is it?
Yep. No sign of belt, no storms, no strengths. Germany versus the States. I think the rat's from the United States. He's certainly from North America.
Yeah, I think he is from the United States.
I think so.
I don't think he's a Canadian player.
And yeah, the rat, again, very well known historically for playing Emerald Steel. That is what he won his Lorcana challenge with as well. So it's fascinating to see him deciding not to go for it. Moyen has definitely played a lot of Sapphire Steel in the past. But there you go. That is a clean looking hand. You've got a Fortisphere on 1, an Oswald on 2. No sign of the Fishbone Quill, no sign of Bell. But we did see that the rat maybe doesn't value the Bell as much up against Moyen. I think Moyen definitely wants the Bell because he wants to sing Storm or Strength to deal with Oswald. But the rat doesn't have any obvious early game targets for the Storms and Strengths. So maybe he doesn't need to force the Bell quite so much. I don't think Moyen's going to be very happy about his hand. Can I do my Moyen impression about what he's going to be doing right now? He's going to be like this. He's going to be, "Ach, man!" That's what he says. Trust me. That is the perfect Moyen impression.
Yeah. It's just sad to see his hand.
Yeah, but with the sail, he still does have a chance of going for that turn 3 Scrooge McDuck. It is going to be Oswald and double Fortisphere kept for the rat and everything else gotten rid of. He's probably looking for that Fishbone Quill because that is obviously the ideal opening. A turn 1 item, turn 2 Oswald into that Fishbone Quill. But we saw them pull it off in the last game. Will they pull it off on this occasion?
Yeah, probably. At the moment, I guess Moyen doesn't have anything again to remove Oswald. Maybe he will top deck it. Maybe he'll find it with Sail. But at the moment, Oswald can be just played securely.
It's worth noting, Moyen will be going first again. We did see him ink. I actually didn't catch the ink. But Moyen's got a chance to draw a card here off the top, but also draw a card off of the sail. So Moyen could still theoretically get a Bell down next turn because he could draw a Porpsicle or a Fortisphere or a Last Cannon and then off the sail draw the Bell. So there is still a chance for Moyen to get that early game Bell. It is a Fortisphere on 1 for the rat and he has 2 Oswalds now in hand. Fishbone Quill found for Moyen, which is not that Porpsicle or that 1 cost item I was discussing just now. So it's going to be a slow start for Moyen here.
Yep. No Smiths, no Bell, turn 1.
It's going to be the Fishbone Quill to be inked. The sail comes through. Do we find the Bell of Dreams? Oh my goodness, he's only gone and done it. But now the big question is, does he go for it? And he absolutely does. It looked like it was impossible. But the sail drew the Porpsicle drew the Bell. And Moyen is suddenly looking a lot better this game. Out of nowhere, it looked like a disaster. But the Sapphire draw just about got him through there. It's going to be Fortisphere into the ink for the rat. Worth noting, he did keep that in the mulligan, but the rat's hand is purely uninkable. And uninkable off the top here for the rat could spell complete and utter disaster. And you did point out, Queen Miyabobo, there's a lot of uninkables in the deck for the rat.
Yeah, 17 is a very big amount. I think it's because he plays 4 Fishbone Quills, and I guess he estimates that he has high chances of inking. But yeah, at the moment, he definitely needs to top deck an inkable card to continue his game.
Moyen would be hoping here for a Storm Rage on, or even a Strength to deal with that Oswald, but it's not available and has an interesting ink decision. He's torn between a Scrooge McDuck or a Cogsworth, but it will be one of his 2 Scrooge McDucks into the Inkwell. Now, this Scrooge McDuck, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and you may add an item card from that into your hand, and it will be the last cannon. So Scrooge McDuck does his job. It finds a very bad item, but it's in the deck because it's an item.
It finds a very bad item, yeah. I love the way you said it.
All right, here we go. Big moment. Ink or unink? It's an uninkable.
It's an unink.
It's an absolute calamity for the rat.
Oh my god.
He's going to go for a second Oswald, and Moyen's going to prepare himself for the Oswald triggers, but the rat will pass on play over to Moyen because he has run into a very rare thing in Lorcana, which is that he has no inkable cards available, and that is a disaster. Surely Moyen cannot lose from here. But you never know with the power of Oswald. It's quite a slow setup as well for Moyen, but those 2 Tamatoas are within touching distance. It's another chance for the rat to draw ink, and it does happen. It's going to be that $60 happy as a clam into the inkwell. And can the Oswald show? No. It cannot. I thought it might have been the start of the Oswald show, but not quite on this occasion. 3 ink available. It is going to be that Maurice's Workshop. Every time the rat plays an item, he can pay 1 ink to draw a card. Moyen's going to draw for turn. Does find a nice inkable card, which is the Fishbone Quill, and in comes the Tamatoa. It's going to bring back that Lucky Dime from the discard and add it into hand. Not enough ink to play it just yet. Will be questing with Scrooge, with Bell, and with Cogsworth for 4, and it is now a 7-0 lead for Moyen in game number 2 here. Of course, the rat, if you're just joining us, won game number 1 with that huge Tamatoa So Shiny and Lucky Dime for 17 points.
The things start looking better for Moyen here because at the moment it's still quite slow.
That's a miss off Oswald. We do see the second Oswald hit the Fishbone Quill Queen, but it does come in exerted, so it can't be used just yet. But let's not forget, with that Maurice's Workshop, he can trigger it and decides to do, spending 1 ink to draw a card. No more cheap items, but does find another inkable card. It just seems like it's a little bit too slow here for the rat, particularly compounded by the fact that he didn't ink on turn 2. It is going to be a Fortosphere banished to play Bell for free. 2 Oswalds on the board. Are they going to sit there and do nothing, or will they quest? The rat probably in a tight spot, but just has to hope that those Oswalds bail him out. Moyen's going to be feeling very comfortable here. He is going to ready all of his ink. He's going to draw a card. And this Tamatoa, when it quests, can play an item card from his hand for free. And he has the perfect card to combine. And he is certainly going to be as happy as a clam playing a Lucky Dime for 0 cost. He does love that dime, doesn't he, Tamatoa?
That's so powerful. That's so powerful because Lucky Dime, I think it's one of the most powerful and one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive items in the game. And like, yes, the synergy is incredible.
He loves the dime, does old Tamatoa. If you actually go back to, I think it's a set 1 card, there's an Emerald Tamatoa. It's a 2 cost, 1/4. It's called like Drab Little Crab. And in that art, it almost looks like he's just found the dime. I'm not sure if that's technically true, but that's how I like to look at it. We do see Saudi Azure at Sea come through into the inkwell, that is. And another Tamatoa, happy as a clam, comes through. It looks like the rats had enough of game number 2 because they've disconnected. And I'm sure we'll have them back very, very soon. But it is now that Lucky Dime down on the board for no cost at all, thanks to the Tamatoa happy as a clam questing. Scrooge McDuck, Bell, and Cogsworth are all ready and waiting. And they're now up to 11. We are just going to get that back for you. Again, a little reminder of the players' achievements here. We've got the Rat, the winner of Disney Lorcana Challenge, Chicago. Couple of technical difficulties, but we are back into the action. Moyen questing up to 13. And it is now back on over to the rat. He has now that Fishbone Quill. He has a couple of Oswalds. But is it too little, too late? Moyen's side of the board is questing for 8, and there's a lucky dime down on the board. So the rat here has to stop the flow somehow, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to do that. Perhaps they're just going to have to hard cast a Zeus. It's going to be the Storm Rage on, being sung by Bell.
Sorry, for hard casting Zeus, yeah, you also need to hit Tamator with an Oswald because there is
Very true.
a big ban on the board, so it will be pretty difficult.
Yep, and that is what the rat goes for
here.
With the Bell, sings the Storm Rage on, and you're absolutely right. Targeting that Tamatoa, only deal 1 damage thanks to the Cogsworth, which is easily forgotten about. But now the Zeus could take it out. It's going to be actually a Fishbone Quill played instead. And the Fishbone Quill is going to trigger. Now it's going to be a couple of Oswald triggers. It's going to be a Zeus to the bottom and a Pete to the bottom. Oswald is not behaving very well in this series so far. But now this other Fishbone Quill is going to come through. And it's going to be 2 more Oswald triggers. And surely this time he's going to hit something, right? No, he's not. Poor old Oswald. It's going to be Pete into the Inkwell. And surely this time, Oswald, you're going to do something, mate. It's the Shield of Arendelle. It's the Porpsicle. And a card is drawn off the Porpsicle. And there is now 4 ink available thanks to those Fishbones. So the Zeus will finish off Tamatoa happy as a clam. Not so happy anymore, mate. 13 lore, though, for Moyen. So are these Oswalds going to be forced to deal with the Bell? They can't take out Scrooge because of the resist. The rat is just going to leave everything ready and waiting, and it's going to be back on over to Moyen, who can quest for a decent amount here. And the dime will finish the job. It is going to be the game there for Moyen. Of course, you could argue the rat was supposed to take the Oswalds into the Bell, but frankly, it didn't matter at that stage. It was going to be over regardless. The rat with nothing to ink going into turn 3, but Moyen takes it down. And for the first time, we're going to see the rat, the Oswald player, going first in this series. It all comes down to this.
I'm wondering if further we will see more hideaways. Like for mirror matchups or something, because it actually makes a big difference. The fact that you can just play your dime without caring of it being removed.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. You've also, Queen Mia Bobo, you've had some good showings at some tournaments before, right? I remember at Lorca Quest you were doing really well. Did you get like top 128 at a challenge as well, or did I make that up?
Actually, I made it to day 2 at Bochum.
Let's go.
So that's it. And the other tournament,
Ruby Sapphire?
No, I was playing Ruby Amethyst, and I was playing Ruby Sapphire at Lille, and I got 40 points. So yeah, I always miss something like a bit, because 40 points, it was like also almost there. At Lille, and at Bologna I played Still Song and was 36, and it was my worst performance compared to the other 2 challenges.
Awesome. I think that's more points than I got in Seattle, so your worst is better than my best. I think.
Well, actually, like, Still Song is a deck, I think, if you want to get a middle result, well, it used to be good at least. Like right now, I don't know exactly, but it was quite easy to get a draw. And like if you just won a few games with Still Song, you could get something decent, but it was quite difficult to perform to get 2 O's with Still Song. So
awesome stuff. It's going to be game number 3. Both players are going to draw 7 cards. The rat will be going first. So if you're Moyen, I think particularly when going second, he's going to really be looking for that turn 1 item into Bell singing a song. Now, the rat has some really interesting options. You can't imagine the Lucky Dime will be kept. You can't really imagine the Pete will be kept either, and they're put to one side. But as Tipo, he has 2 items. He has a Bell and an Oswald in hand. And then on the other side, Moyen has his Sail on 2, but no sign of the Bell or a turn 1 item. How aggressive does he go to find them? He has a Strength, which can deal with the Oswald. I think Moyen might have to take a risky mulligan here and just try and find that item on 1 into Bell. I'm going to sit down. 1 sec.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. My feet were hurting. Game number 3. Big shout out to Pavel for hosting the legendary cross-continental clash. If you guys want more details on all of the decks, I actually did post a video as well covering all of the deck lists on my YouTube channel. But you can also check on Ink Decks, where you are able to see the schedule of all of the games. Big shout out to Ink Decks. That's an awesome feature. So far, we've seen I managed to win my game somehow against Sailor. We saw Zach Bivens come out victorious. We've seen LD win. And we're about to find out who will make it through into the winners bracket round 2 between the Rat and Moyen. Whoever loses, it's not all over for them. They will be going into the losers bracket. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's double elimination. Yeah, I think it's quite a good system.
Yeah, it's high stakes though. You really don't want to drop down into that lower bracket, but it's not all over if you do. I think
because I guess if you are a runner-up, you will have to beat the winner twice.
Not sure on that, but
not sure exactly, but I know that I used to play Hearthstone, and it was like this: like if you win your lower bracket, then you go up, and the winner of the upper bracket, they still have their second chance, right?
Yes.
So in some cases, I think in some games, if you are the winner of the lower bracket, you actually need to beat the winner of the upper bracket twice.
Yeah.
And that's harsh.
Here we go. Game number 3. Tipo will be into the Inkwell, and Brian the Rat Courtade is going to start off with a Fortisphere, drawing himself a Tamatoa, happy as a clam. It's all eyes on now Mr. Moyen, who is ready and waiting to draw a card. He has an item, he has Bell, but does not yet have a song to sing with Bell. And Brian here is considering summoning their own Bell. I thought it was all over, but Brian surprises me with a Bell from nowhere, banishing the Fortisphere and developing. Now, still no sign for Moyen of a song. So does he actually put the Bell down onto the board? You would imagine he probably does and just hopes to find one. It's going to be Sail into the Inkwell, which is interesting, but it has 2. And Fortisphere on. Will we see a song? It's a Fortisphere, and Bell will come in immediately. And what's interesting about this is even though he doesn't have a song, he's threatening a song. And therefore the rat might not want to play that Oswald on turn 2, and maybe hold on to Oswald until turn 3, for example, because you can play Oswald for 2 ink, then ink, and activate your Oswald. So let's see if Brian decides to do that, or if he just takes the risk and plays the Oswald on curve. He certainly does. He says, all right then, Moyen, let's see your Storm Rage on, mate. And it is going to be Bell questing for 1. Big moment. Doesn't find it. Does he dig for it, though, with the Sail, for example? It looks like he will. It's going to be Sail, which draws him a card. Is that the song he's looking for? It's not, but it's not all over yet, because Moyen can ink a card, play the item, and there is still one more chance to draw the song to deal with this pesky Oswald. It comes down to this. Will Oswald live to tell the tale? Or will this 1-cost item for Moyen draw him the song that he is so desperately looking for at this moment in time? There's 8 of them in the deck. There's about 50 cards in the deck at this stage.
Yeah, I think.
So, not great odds. Here we go! Doesn't find it. And look at him! Ach, man! That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I think it's the first game where we see Bell against Bell.
Yep.
It's weird to hear her like this. I mean, Belle. I think it's in French. It's more beautiful. Like Belle.
Yes.
Belle is like it's soft. Like it's
Belle.
A princess. Belle is like you ring a bell.
Yeah. We do see Moyen just leave his bell ready and waiting, because he does still want to be able to try and sing a song with it in a turn or 2. Now, a big threat here potentially would be Bell singing let the strength of a raging fire. It is the Great Stone Dragon found by the Oswald. The first time of asking, Oswald puts in some work, and suddenly no storm or strength for you because the rat has got the peat down on the board, and Oswald will not be questing.
Yeah, Oswald gonna survive, and yeah, also there is this potential synergy with Great Stone Dragon. I don't think it will work.
Look at him clench his fists.
Oh my god! That's just like,
He finds it, but Pete has other ideas. But this game is far from over. It's going to be the fishbone quill into the ink, the fishbone quill onto the board, and of course, there is a storm, a so shiny Tamatoa, happy as a clam, and a dime. So the fishbone quill could get rid of the lucky dime, but it would be into the inkwell forever. There's no getting it back. I don't think he plays the puppy cards, which lets him look at the inkwell. I think the puppy card that looks at the inkwell, it's an amber sapphire card, and it can only bring back puppies from the inkwell. Have you played the puppy deck? Is it very good?
Personally, I haven't. We have a guy in our team who is into it.
Nice.
So I definitely saw the deck. I'm more into princesses because I saw Frank Costin's Yellow Still.
Okay, I heard about it. I haven't actually looked at it yet, though. I'm gonna have to check it out.
The storm. Like, I just have this song in my head. I mean, like, you're not welcome anymore.
Moyen is still deciding what to do with this fishbone. It's 4 good cards in his hand. He might be worried about a follow-up Pete as well. He's also probably quite worried about Strength of a Raging Fire, removing his bell from the board, but it could have come through the previous turn and it didn't, so he probably can assume he's safe for now. He's actually going to spend that 1 last ink to banish the Fortisphere and make Bell a bodyguard. The simple reason for that is if you want to banish the Fortisphere, it does cost, and he had 1 ink spare, so he just took the opportunity to do so. But it is now over on to the rat and his Oswald. Oswald, yet again, the star of the show. All eyes on him. No sign of that Strength of a Raging Fire, which would deal with Moyen's bell, but could, of course, draw off the Fortisphere, and the Oswald could draw some items, or hit some items, which draw him some more cards. It's going to be bell into the ink for the rat, and that means an Oswald trigger. Is it time for Oswald to hit the lucky dime? It's not, it's a Zeus.
No, it's a Zeus. I have a feeling that his Oswalds love Zeus in general.
Yeah.
Like,
it's gonna be...
we've seen probably 3 or 4 of them already.
Scrooge McDuck finds that fishbone quill and adds it into the hand for the rat. But with no Pete forthcoming and no sign of the strength to remove Moyen's bell, it does look as though Moyen will finally be able to deal with that Oswald. And while it did something, it didn't do that much in the end. Just a Great Stone Dragon, which isn't currently doing anything, but the Great Stone Dragon, of course, can once a turn put a character from your discard into your ink. And the rat is considering questing with the Oswald here, which is a really interesting decision. Maybe making a read that Moyen drew into the storm already. Of course, if Moyen has the storm or strength, the Oswald could just quest for 2 here. But the rat might just want to go safety first and leave it ready. It's a very interesting decision here. Of course, if the rat does quest with Oswald, it also gives Moyen the opportunity to challenge the Oswald with Bell and then maybe save the storm for something else. But if the rat has a strong
for
read...
the next Oswald.
It does look like the rat might be questing. And I have to say, I wonder if the body language of Moyen in any way gave any kind of a read into what might be in his hand. I don't know, but that's something you have to think about in Decisive Lorcana. It is a game you usually play it over the board. Here we've got players in 2 different continents. But we obviously saw Moyen's reaction. Of course, the players can't see below the bar, but I do wonder if he's considering that fact. The rat decides to go safety first. And it is going to be an instant bell singing Let the Storm Rage On, and Oswald has been firmly dealt with. for now. It is 4 lore to 0 in favour of Brian, the rat. But Moyen still has a bunch of ink to work with. Unfortunately for him, he drew a couple more items. He might want to get this Tamatoa down this turn, but he has a bit of an awkward one. He could play a Fortisphere, draw a card, and then use the Fishbone Quill to ink that card and do some stuff like that, but he might just want to play the Tamatoa all on its own immediately.
I guess it will be a Tamatoa. He's just checking if he needs to banish a Popsicle.
And that is why he put those Fortispheres in his discard earlier. He prioritized the Fortisphere, I think, with the Bell. He is going to ink one of those. He actually inked... Yeah, it was still an item that was inked. And that does mean that he has 1 ink spare still to play it. So Moyen, despite being the player going second here in game 3, is well ahead in terms of ink because that Oswald did not hit a Fishbone Quill. But the Great Stone Dragon can start ticking along now for the rat. And very interesting to see a Bell drawn. Moyen does have the option of playing this right now for free, and he decides to do so. Moyen is getting a pretty scary looking board all of a sudden. Although...
Bell and Scrooge are just like discounted.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to pay anymore. You just discard an item.
Absolutely.
And it's actually like it's better for you to discard a Fortisphere, and I think that's why he played a Fortisphere and not the second Popsicle, because to discard a Fortisphere, as you've mentioned, you need to pay, and if you play Bell, you don't need to pay to discard your Fortisphere.
Yep, absolutely. We can see the Greystone Dragon is now ready and waiting for the rat. And Oswald is ready in the discard to go into the Inkwell. It will go in Exerted. So it's not going to give him any extra ink for this turn. But it will give him some more ink for the following turns.
Yeah, it's actually an awesome card for Sapphire because it permits you to recycle your resources. So you don't need to ink the cards you have in your hand, and in some control matches it's actually very important because sometimes you use so many cards from your deck, and sometimes you can lack resources. I'm not sure that's the case for Steel Sapphire at the moment because of the dimes, but overall, like it's very important to ink the cards you don't need.
Yep. Brian with a bit of an awkward hand. They've got the Fishbone Quill, but with no Hiram Flavisham, not many cards to spare. That Tamatoa, of course, can bring back some items from the discard, so it'll be interesting to see as we see the Fishbone come here. Will we see the rat do a similar move where he just banishes the Fortisphere here, just to get it in the discard ready for the Tamatoa? It's quite possible we might, and I think also that you can see at this moment in time the power of the Scrooge McDuck. 4/4 stat line is really impressive because it's going to be able to take out a Bell with ease. And we are going to see the Fortisphere being banished for 1 ink, giving Bodyguard to a character of Brian's choice. And not sure which one that was, but I'm sure Moyen is aware. And it is going to be the Scrooge McDuck surely challenging this Bell. And it's going to be a double quest for Brian, up to 6 lore. Moyen not on a single lore, but with that Tamatoa and Lucky Dime in hand, that could change very, very quickly. I think Moyen is going to like his position right now. Card off the top.
Yeah, because he can draw, he can play the dime, and he can quest already, and the dime will stay. So yeah, it's pretty much okay for Moyen. It depends on what he draws.
Another Popsicle. It's the Popsicle show.
Yeah. Moyen is playing poker here.
Finds the strength of a raging fire, which isn't fantastic. Bell could sing it to take out the Scrooge. Of course, another Popsicle is still available to draw another card. And yep, 4 Popsicles all on the board. Brian had 4 Fishbones. Well, Moyen says, "Look at me, I got." Here is
the guy. Here is your favorite one.
Yep, it's the Tamatoa
Bling Bling is here. Tamatoa Bling Bling.
And suddenly it looks like it might be Moyen's turn for the Tamatoa show as the Lucky Dime comes down for nothing with a 2 quest from Tamatoa. And that Tamatoa Bling Bling is ready to come down the following turn and clean up with the huge array of items that he has available. He loves items, Tamatoa. He really, really does.
Yeah. Yeah. For now, it seems to be really complicated for the rat because, yeah, I guess he can predict this Tamatoa, the Bling Bling Tamatoa.
Yep. Moyen has
I'm
a
just
decision.
asking. Yeah.
Does he go for the strength? He still has ink available, but he doesn't have enough ink to play it and trigger the dime. So I was expecting him maybe to just sing it with Bell and trigger the dime, but instead he decides to just hard cast it and actually trade out the Bell, wanting to protect his characters on the board. So at this stage in the game, he just goes for some board control. He has an abundance of lore. So he uses the Bell instead of gaining 1 lore or singing the strength. He just uses the Bell as a battering ram to trade out for one of the rat's cards. The rat draws into a Porpsicle.
Yeah, there is only beach left for the rat. Yeah. Clear board, clear mind.
Yeah, that Great Stone Dragon can be activated as well again, putting that Bell into the discard exerted. Zeus is found, and that is going to be a nice way of dealing with the Tamatoa happy as a clam, but unfortunately for the rat, there's another Tamatoa right around the corner, which he needs to be wary of. Having said that, the ink for Moyen at the moment is a little bit short. Only 7, it appears, but does have a Fishbone Quill in play. So even if he draws an uninkable, he's still going to be able to get that Tamatoa So Shiny down onto the board the next turn, but isn't going to be able to use the dime on it immediately. And maybe the rat could make a read here and hold on to that Zeus and try and clear the other Tamatoa with the Zeus. Let's see. I think you've probably just got to deal with the threat that's in front of you. But it is going to be the rat deciding to develop his own Tamatoa and brings back 2 Fortress Spheres. Makes sense?
Yeah, probably he wants to find another Zeus because, or maybe a strength or something like this, because this Tamatoa, Happy's Clam, I think he has done his job and he's not that dangerous anymore. Well, he can play another dime, but you should get really lucky to do this. Because I think Moyen only runs 2 dimes in his deck.
Right.
That's why I say really lucky. And other than that,
big
he
card
just
draw
claims
moment.
for 2.
This card's going to go into the ink probably, so he's not going to want to find a really good card here. Oh!
Oh my god!
Oh, or maybe he does want a really good card because Tamatoa quests and the lucky dime comes down for free. But that leaves Moyen in a really awkward spot because he really wanted to develop his other Tamatoa So Shiny. He's suffering from success a little bit here. He's got 2 incredible options. Is it possible that the dime, which could be played for free, will still be sacrificed? Unbelievable! He's only gone and done it. He hardly even hesitated.
Yeah, I don't know. I think in this situation, I would have played the dime because with 2 dimes, then you play Tamatoa, and with this amount of items, you win immediately.
But now, with the Fortosphere being put back into hand, the Tamatoa quests, and it draws Moyen a card. He's developed the Tamatoa. He's got a card in hand for the next time. Very fascinating decision. And the rat does have that Zeus in hand and is going to be hoping to find something like a strength or another Zeus to clean up the Tamatoa So Shiny. And if the rat can find a way of dealing with this Tamatoa So Shiny, it could be anyone's game. Currently, only the Zeus would need 3 more damage to remove that Tamatoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really curious decision that he made. I mean, Moyen here. Because, yeah, maybe it's because of the amount of his ink. Because if he played the dime, he could have quested for 6 this turn, I guess.
Still no Zeus. Finds the Fortosphere off the Fortosphere. He's looking for a strength or a Zeus here, I think. Finds a Fishbone Quill. Hiram Flavisham could potentially still come through. and that would leave him with 3 characters on the board. So you could sing a Zeus with the Tamatoa, you could sing a Strength with Pete. So there is still a chance for the rat to deal with this Tamatoa, but it's looking increasingly unlikely. Let's see, is it going to be the Hiram to dig? Looking now specifically for a Strength. A Zeus at this moment in time would not be able to be played. It's going to be the Fortisphere banished. Looking for a Strength of a Raging Fire. Doesn't find it. But there's a Porpsicle and a Fortisphere, which means there's still more opportunities to find the card that the rat is so desperately looking for. There's 7 items on the board for Moyen, Green.
Yeah, I'm already calculating lethal if it's possible.
Still nothing. And it's the last chance here for the rat. Unless they draw into another card which draws. This Fortisphere could be his last shot of finding Strength. Doesn't find it. And with no other cards in hand to draw a card, that means that this Tamatoa So Shiny is going to be on the board for Moyen next turn. And the rat has scooped. He said that I cannot stop you. At least it seems to be the case. And it looks like Moyen is your winner. I guess the rat is not giving up just yet. But it's going to pass on over to Moyen, who is going to win with his Tamatoa questing for a huge amount with those items. And the dime finishes the job. And Jan Moyen from Germany, the Oswaldless Blue Steel, is victorious. Unbelievable scenes.
Yeah, just as he predicted, actually. Like, yeah, he managed to quickly develop the board, and also he had the dime, so I think that's why he managed to win the game. But we'll soon ask him.
We need you, in the Discord. We need to, if you could leave this video chat, and then I'll see you in the Discord.
Yeah, definitely. I will.
Perfect. How do I unmute her? I think it's unmuted already. Hello, hello. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, they're not here yet, but I'm done to top in.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Judge. We very much appreciate you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you to Pavel. Oh, he's muted. Never mind. No thank yous there then. Welcome in the rat and Moyen. Let's start off with the winner, Moyen. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. I speak a lot. I wasn't speaking very highly of Oswald, so I couldn't afford to lose. Was money match.
Well, it was pretty close. We saw when that Pete hit the board on turn 3 that you I saw you like grab your fists, and I imagine you might have said, "Ach man." Is that what you said?
No, I mean maybe. Especially because like I draw, I have so many draws for any removal, and then it's like a Pete opening, which wasn't even expected because with so many cards kept, I was like expecting the Quill, and then it's the Pete, and immediately the next draw after the Pete, I draw the Storm, and worked out so well for them.
Brian, commiserations. We obviously saw in game 2 you really, really got unlucky with having a complete hand full of uninkables. We saw you managed to win in game 1 despite going second. What was the key to that game 1 and you winning while going second?
Well, Moyen just had a slow start. His deck plays stale and Cogsworth, like you saw in game 3. If he just hits the curve, it's a lot more powerful to play Cogs and the Tamatoa than the other stuff the deck, his list in particular, does. So his start was slow. I had a good hand. Yeah, I mean, I'd say that when the Oswald version beats it's just hyper specific, obviously, because we know each other's exact 60. But up against like the Sale Cogsworth list, that's probably like how it usually wins that matchup when it's from the draw.
So obviously you've been playing with the Oswald deck for this tournament. How are you finding Oswald? And of course with this tournament, you're going to be able to change your deck list moving forwards. You're going to have to stick with Sapphire Steel. Of course, you don't have to reveal anything you don't want to. But what's your thoughts overall on the argument about the Oswald decks versus the non-Oswald decks?
Yeah, I've been playing Oswald for like trying to play it at least for like 6 months ish, 5 months. When it ever
Awesome.
came out,
That's
basically. Cool. And like my lucky dimes are in Italian, the numero unos.
Yeah,
like I picked
nice.
up, the extra stuff for it and everything. I'm a huge fan of the card. I was playing like a 38 item red blue Oswald deck. I kind of like for set 7, but it wasn't good enough. And then I just went back to doing blue steel, which is like the obvious color combination. Then I seen Zan's list as well, so kind of like changed mine up a little bit. I kind of regret not having the 2 bigger Tamatoas and testing. That's huge. I wouldn't play less than 4 of the big Tamatoa, but I think that the Oswald's fun. I don't know if it'll be in like the final version, of the deck or final. I mean, you could play whichever. It's still a good deck if you play Oswald. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think that at first glance, when you see that I play bolts and Moyen doesn't, you think that that's like a big advantage for me. But in play, the Cogsworth kind of nullifies that, and then the bolt actually becomes like a liability and not something that's good.
Especially when your Oswald seemed to keep hitting the lightning bolts. I couldn't believe how many times the Oswald hit the lightning bolts.
Yeah, well, I mean, you only play so many items in this version, so yeah, I like Sale and Cogsworth. I don't know if I'll be playing like Oswald's in the future or not, but it's a fun card. So
awesome. I've actually got another question for the rat. I want to go back to the first turn of game 1. You played an item down on the board, and you had a bell in hand, but you decided not to put it down on the board, which I'm sure a lot of people are really curious about. And I just wondered if I could get some insight into the decision making that went on there to just leave the bell in hand.
Moyen didn't have a 1-drop pop, so there isn't a lot of pressure there. And even if he's able to get pop in the next turn, like he had Sail, so he has 2 draws for the Popsicle, and play the Popsicle and like sack it for a bell. That's like kind of it's not that slim. He's got like 50 cards, 8 chances of success. It's probably actually like 30% or something. But either way, like he wasn't going to be putting out his own bell, and I might need the ink so that I can play like my turn smoother. When you're on the draw in that matchup, especially against his list that ramps into 4, like with Sail, like the Bell's just not going to accomplish much against a Scrooge. If you're able to go like Bell, Oswald, 3-drop character, but I think I had a ramp if I remember correctly, so I wasn't going to do that, then you might get like a strength off on an opposing Bell. But like I said, it wasn't like he was going to have a Bell anytime soon. So, to me, like the 3/3 Bell isn't going to accomplish much against Scrooge. I wasn't ever going to be able to have 4 characters by the time he played Scrooge. So after Scrooge comes Cogsworth, and if he goes Scrooge and Cogsworth, then like the Bell's never singing a spell that's relevant in that game. So I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to play it there. It's better to use it as a ink.
Yep. And we did see you ink it, and obviously then with the Oswald, I think you had 2 Oswalds down on the board, so I can definitely see the value. Moyen, a similar, very interesting decision you had to make right at the end of the game there. You had a Tamatoa in hand, the Tamatoa So Shiny, and I thought, well, whatever you draw, you can just ink, and suddenly you hit a lucky dime, but you hardly hesitated. Was there ever a world you were going to just quest and get the lucky dime down for free? And why did you decide not to do so?
Well, if I do, I immediately lose the game. Or not immediately, but like I give the red far too much time for them to set up a clock, and my clock's not faster with 2 dimes. And then what would I do? Okay, I have 2 dimes down, activate both for 2, and the next turn I play a Tamatoa, when like just playing a Tamatoa is already threatening game. So there was really no point in the dime. I chuckled a bit drawing the second dime there, but it didn't really matter at all.
Yeah, you hardly hesitated, and of course then you were able to put like another item back into your hand anyway. What's your thoughts overall on the Sapphire Steel mirrors, Moyen? Obviously we know that you've been on Podcana this week, your podcast, talking about maybe you having a slight edge over the Oswald builds. But what would you say the mirrors... do you think they're quite high rolly? Do you think they're quite skill intensive? Because we saw in both games really it being down to a huge Tamatoa with a ton of items. Do you think that these are skill intensive mirrors, or do you think that there's quite a lot of RNG going on in there?
But I don't think it's either or, right? I think it can be both. High variance, high RNG, but still be skill testing. Yeah. So I mean that's just my stance on it. But in general, it also depends on the mirror, right? There's a lot more variance when Oswald is in the mix than maybe in the if it was like a true card mirror.
Queen Mia Bobo, did you have any questions you wanted to ask? If you did, feel free to go for it. If not, I'll just keep asking away, no pressure.
Yeah, thank you. I actually wanted to ask both Moyen and the Rat about their thoughts on any cards that ink the items to deal with the dimes, like for example, Hideaway, Cusco. Do you think there is any point in playing these cards?
Let's go to the Rat first. So Hideaway, Cusco. Could you see it?
In the Oswald list, you just don't have much space in the character slot. Like, you want to run enough that Raging Fire isn't bad, but you don't want to run so many that you're not getting any triggers. So like, there, I don't think you necessarily would see the either of those. If you don't run the Oswald, it's possible, but the problem, I mean, in a game where we don't know each other's deck list, like, or a game just against red blue, for instance, where you're more likely to see Hideaway, there is like a little bit of finesse to keeping your dime, or whatever it is. I mean, they could hit the fishbone early, honestly, that might even be better, but there's ways to just keep your dime hidden. And since the 6-drop Tamatoa puts the dime out for free, it's really easy to get rid of the window that I would say existed in previous sets, where you actually always get a chance to kill the dime. Basically, unless it comes down and plays it like after the Tamatoa is like put out, because now you can just put it out for free, put the 8-drop Tamatoa out, and use a dime on it on 10, where before you would have had to at least like do that all in one turn or take 2 turns.
Moyen, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think those cards are awful. Basically, they also are only good at a very specific time that would usually be very late in the game, as the Red said, you can kind of like delay the dime for a while without too much issue. And then in these decks, we are kind of, there's not a lot of cards that we can afford not to ink. And then as soon as we've set up any sort of value engine, it's just about ramping and quilling in a way where you can get to the first 6-drop Tamatoa, 8-drop Tamatoa really, really quickly, where they pose the biggest threat. And already, I think if you've watched these games closely, you saw how often we had to ink great cards like Flower Charms or some of the big Tamatoas, just so we can play the first big Tamatoa earlier. And like inking items is very low in the priority list, and nothing I would sacrifice like consistency for. I also don't think like, okay, inking items like Hideaway Cusco is one thing, and then there's like I find them, flatten them, and okay, against the Oswald deck, Benja's pretty good. I think against the version that I'm playing, that can just curve, sail, Scrooge, Corks, Tamatoa, something like that. It's really not reliant on the quill either. So especially when you're playing against a deck that could be playing Benja, you can just kind of play around it. So it's like depends on the build, but I think some blue steel builds are very, very resilient to potential tech cards that can be thrown their way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, there was a time where the dime comes out and then it like hits a Sisu, big Sisu or something, you gain a little lore, then it like gets used on the Tamatoa later, or you do like dime 3 turns in a row with like a dragon or a threat, but like those days are kind of just gone. And even if you, like back then, if you blew up the dime, it would be stuck in the grave until they drew a big Tamatoa, but now there's 8 recursion effects, so it's like,
right,
you're not even really like getting rid of it for long, even when you do get rid of it, if they let you get rid of it, which if they did, they probably don't care about it. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Moyen. I don't think that those cards are particularly good.
So
Thank you. I also have
please
another
do.
question. You can just quickly answer. Maybe I think many players in Lorcana are currently asking themselves this. What is the deck, or what are the decks then that can beat Steel Sapphire? Because it seems so powerful at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, first off, like Moyen said, I think everything's a mix of skill, luck, and the deck. So what I would just say is I think for most people that play the game, you're in, matches where you have a chance to win if you play like properly. Maybe for like the top 1% of players, the blue steel mirrors look toxic, or it's just like impossible to beat them. But I think the deck has weaknesses to aggro. I mean, in general, the 4 health characters out of like Amber Steel, and I mean other people have talked about it. They can just go fast and get there. It's not like, even with one song, it's not like you have a rush character on 5 or 6. So like if you even curve into Tamatoa, or let's say you play a Cogsworth, like these cards aren't immediately taking out a card. Cogsworth might not even be able to trade for something if their characters have enough health. In like Moyen's list, for instance. So, and then in my list, the Oswald's just not good versus the aggro decks at all. So I mean, I still think that there's ways to get underneath it. I mean, there's also a lot of different blue steel decks. There's the more aggro with Alice, that type of thing. So.
To me, one fair shout is also just decks that play both Be Prepared and high lore, high willpower locations. I think those also have a decent chance to stand against Blue Steel, because other than Zeus, which the copies of vary, there's no immediate extra damage except Last Cannon, I guess, in some lists if you have something to challenge. But like the ways to interact with locations in Blue Steel are very limited, and when paired with Be Prep, if you can dodge a Pete at the right time, I think you can also set up a clock rather quickly.
Yeah, like honestly, Hideaway would, or like Cusco would more likely, in my opinion, in the future see play if it was about taking out like manners, more so than taking out items. Yeah, I mean DKP red blue fits the build. What Moyen's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, my last question for you both. What is your favorite card from Arcasia's Island? And you are not allowed to say Tamatoa happy as a clam or Scrooge McDuck. Yeah, I got you there.
Bell.
Huh? Damn it, I forgot Bell. You're not allowed to say Bell either. No blue cards.
No blue cards, it's getting even more difficult. Okay, the red can go first.
I'm looking at pictures. Give me 1 second.
Well, the rat also, we're used to seeing you play Emerald Steel as well. Certainly, I'm used to seeing you play Emerald Steel. What do you think about the new Pete card? That's being.
Yeah, I almost said that. I mean, it's fine. I think it is good in the Emerald Steel deck, but I don't think it's like a significant improvement by any means. It is one of the only cards I'd play or think about playing in Green Steel. That got added though. I'm not big on any of the other cards. I like the let's see here. All right, I got it.
So you guys thought this would be so easy until I said no blue, and it turned into the hardest question of all time.
I like the Aladdin that plays an ally for free.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's an interesting one. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. It's like a 4-cost uninkable.
Yeah, and it cheats in like Lawrence. Ling. Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
I'll go for I think I'll go for the Shift Bell. I think the Shift Bell can set up like super fast clocks. It involves some high rolly hands usually, so the bell mechanic extraordinaire. But when it does I think that's also like a huge weapon that you could play against Sapphire Steel. And a very, very cool card.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. I think that's all we've got time for. The Rat and Moyen, if people want to see more of your Lorcana stuff, where might they do that? Let's start with the Rat, and also that's a good chance to flex my enchanted bell that I packed. Oh. The Rat, if people want to see more of your Lorcana stuff, is there anywhere they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really post much. You could go to my Twitter, Worlds, soon TM.
Awesome, yeah. Very best of luck there. And Moyen, I heard you might be doing some new stuff soon.
Yeah. So for like over a year now, I do weekly podcast, Podcana, that you can catch on YouTube and all podcast platforms. But I actually ordered a camera today, so that I have multiple cameras set up to maybe stream some Pixel 1 Connect over the next few days. It should arrive tomorrow morning. So I should be able to get some streams in on Moyen_HS on Twitch or MoyenCG on YouTube. And I am playing with the fact of maybe starting up a Metafy, but starting to write the first pieces, so
50-0. Let's go.
Brilliant. All right, guys. Well, thank you all very much. That's all we've got time for today. We're going to end the stream there. Thank you to Pavel for organising. Thank you to Queen Mia Bobo for joining us on the cast. And thank you to the players. This has been the LCCC. See you later.